Good afternoon, everybody. This is Group 3, and we are doing our mini presentation on the Wells Fargo scandal. Okay, so first to talk about the scandal. So, what it was where a lot of the Wells Fargo clients started to notice the fraud after being charged a lot of unauthorized fees, and they started to receive like unexpected credit or debit cards or lines of credit on their accounts. Um, so obviously they were setting customers up for these free accounts, but then they were charging them all these fees without telling them. So they were just going behind their back um, to try to get more money out of them, which was kind of ridiculous. So after that, um, a lot of initial reports like started to blame like obviously the individuals in the Wells Fargo branch, a lot of the workers and the managers for the specific problems, and then also as well as like a lot of the sales incentives associated with selling multiple uh, so-called solutions or financial products. So this blame was later shifted basically to like a top-down pressure from like higher level management to open basically as many accounts as possible through the action of cross-selling. And so, what cross selling is, it's the action of selling an additional product or a service to an existing customer. Um, so, obviously, this just created a bunch of controversy within the customers as well as, Wells Fargo themselves. So, an employee actually noticed what was happening within the company and they reported it to HR. And what HR did, they basically just kind of oversaw it, didn't really take a lot of initiative or action into it, and they were actually fired for other reasons, and they ended up suing Wells Fargo later on and won a couple years later. But it's kind of crazy because leading up to this, the bank took few risks in the years uh, in the financial crisis of 2007 to 2008, which basically led to an image of stability on Wall Street and in the financial world. So they had this image that they were giving off, but then, after all this happened, it just completely ruined their image. But so, I mean, yeah, the bank's stable reputation was completely tarnished by the widespread fraud, the coverage, and the revelation of other fraudulent practices that were employed by the company. And so, obviously, later on, the CEO ended up getting fired. Um, they were reaching civil and criminal lawsuits reaching up to $2.7 billion by the end of 2018. So that's basically it.
Why did this happen? Company mandated quota to sign up new accounts, made employees take illegal steps to keep jobs. CEO seemed to be aware of what was going on and never stopped this from continuing. Wells Fargo seemed to lack internal control in their department. HR did not have protocols in place for something like this. Could this have been prevented, and how? If steps for reporting were more anonymous, HR should have had a plan in place should something like this occur. HR should have let more than the CEO know.
In the Wells Fargo scandal, many people question what HR's role was in this scandal. And really, they didn't play much of a role at all. Honestly, they should have taken more action. The HR department advocated for their employer, really, instead of their employees and the organization as a whole in this instance. Many people believe that the HR advocacy role is simply to ensure that the actions of an organization are in alignment with the stated values and ethics. And their values and virtues quoted are: we strive to be recognized by our stakeholders as setting the standard among the world's greatest companies for integrity and principled performance. This is more than just doing the right thing. We have to do it the right way. And that's what Wells Fargo stands by, but they didn't show that in this scandal, especially their HR department and their top leaders. Their HR department did not allow their employees to be heard. They created a line between employer and employee, and they chose a side when there shouldn't have been a side at all. They fired an employee with favorable performance records, and he struggled to find a job after, and many people say that this was retaliation and blacklisting. The HR department was basically absent for many years at Wells Fargo, and they were absent during this scandal as well. Building off of what Wells Fargo did do during this scandal, this goes over more of what they should have done. They needed to be more involved in the company and hold everybody accountable for their actions. This includes the CEO and the other members who were responsible for and knew about the different fees and other charges going on. They should have played a greater role in this event and the ones that preceded it. They were very hands off. When employees would come forward, they would either fire them or they would just completely ignore them. And they really didn't take charge and try to fix the situation and work with the top CEOs and work with lower management and work with the employees. And they didn't even pay attention to the OSHA laws and regulations that should have been considered during their decisions and actions. Company culture and ethics should have played a role in their decisions, like I mentioned last slide with their virtues. They did not follow what their company's virtues said at all, and they should have protected employees and found ways to fix the organization from top down. Wells Fargo's HR department should have been involved and been a presence throughout this whole scandal. However, many claim that they were absentees during the entire event.